Good morning. Good morning. We are flexible here. We just go with the flow. No worries. So it's so good to see everybody today. I love to see our community filling up. I love to see faces that I haven't seen in a while, and I love to see new faces here. So welcome if you're here for the first time. We're delighted that you're with us, and we hope that you'll come back and check us out some more. I did want to, again, say a shout out for our beach party that we had on Friday night. If you didn't come, make it a point to come next time. I think it was the best one that we've ever had. And we had fun, those of us that were here, yes? Whoa, we did a lot of dancing that night. That was a lot of fun. I also want to say thank you to Dee Richardson for taking last Sunday and doing such a wonderful talk on the 12 powers while we were gone. So thank you very much, Dee. We appreciate you. So this man, he went to church one Sunday, and he was going to church because he had lost his hat, and he knew that there would be like a foyer where he could probably steal somebody's hat. So he got to church, and an usher met him and immediately took him to a seat, so he didn't have a chance to steal the hat. But the minister that day did a talk on the 10 Commandments, and so after service, this man came up to her. Notice the minister's a her, came up to her and said, "Thank you so much for your talk today on the 10 Commandments. I came here today to steal a hat, and I ended up not stealing the hat." And she said, "Oh, was it the commandment on thou shalt not steal?" And he said, "No. When you got to thou shalt not commit adultery, I remembered where my hat was." That was a good one. You may be getting more of these throughout this series, because we today are beginning a series by the late Reverend Eric Butterworth on his book called Breaking the 10 Commandments. Now, Reverend Eric Butterworth is one of the greats in Unity, and if you have not had a chance to check out his books, to go to truthunity.org, I think is where you can go and you can actually listen to some of his talks. He was amazing. But before I begin to talk about this, I thought it might be good to talk about, what does Unity believe about the Bible? You may not know, but the Bible is Unity's basic text. And we view the Bible in various ways. One of the ways that we view the Bible is we see it as the evolution of humankind's consciousness. So we see the Old Testament as the consciousness where we were separate from God, where we saw God as a being that was outside of us, that was this vengeful, jealous God. And then that moved us to the New Testament, where our great master teacher, Jesus, clearly told us that, the kingdom of heaven is within us, that God is within us, that we are one with God, and that God is a loving God. Now, as well as that, we see the Bible as a great body of history, as a moral and an ethical teaching, and as a great literary work. I'm having a hard time with my words today. And for the most part, I will say we don't take the Bible literally, because Unity finds deep significance in the Bible through its metaphysical interpretation. And so when I talk about metaphysics, the basic, most simplest way for me to explain metaphysical is it's beyond the literal. We're going to go underneath, we're going to go beyond. And Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, actually put together what's called the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. And this dictionary is based on the names of people and places and experiences and how they symbolize or represent various aspects of our own being. It really brings it to a much more personal experience with the Old Testament and with the New Testament. Now, Charles Fillmore also always said, go to headquarters. Go to your headquarters. This is what was revealed to him. The things that we share on Sunday morning are things that were revealed to, through books or through myself. But he said, go to headquarters, because the final authority for you is the God of your understanding that is going to reveal the truth to you. In Unity, we do not believe that there is one path. We believe that there are many paths to God. And no one path is right, and so we don't claim to have the one and only right path. We have a path. And for me, I think, looking at the vast diversity of cultures in the world, looking at the vastness of the universe, and now we know universes, I think, how can anybody really believe that there is only one path to this immense creative intelligence? There has to be more than one way to that God of our understanding. So, going to the first commandment, and this is the only commandment that we're going to get through today because it's a powerful commandment. Oh, and there it is. Let me go back. So from Exodus 20:2-3, the first commandment is, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. Now this is what he's speaking, quote unquote, to Moses after Moses has brought the people of Israel out of bondage. So the thing about this very first commandment that Eric reminds us, it immediately takes us to this old concept of God as this being, as this kind of a man sitting on a throne with a long white beard with a booming voice. And so, and Eric says we have been given these cliches of God as man. And as beautiful, and it is, I had the opportunity to see it in person, as the painting in the Sistine Chapel is, there's the physical hand of God that is reaching out. He talks about Cecil B. DeMille's The 10 Commandments. Anybody see that? It was a movie from a long time ago. And this is what he says. He says, this depiction of the hand of God etching the commandments on tablets of stone is cinematography at its best and communication at its worst, because it really misses the spiritual narrative of what Moses' experience was. So I'm going to start with a metaphysical interpretation of Moses according to Charles Fillmore. So what he says is that Moses represents the progressive or drawing out process which works from within outward as applied to the universe, the upward trend of all things, the evolutionary law. Now, what this means to me, or represents for me, is that Moses is that part of us that is turning inward to let that reveal the truth with a capital T, about the nature of God, about the nature of ourselves, about the nature of the universe, says. And as that truth is revealed to us, we are expanded and we evolve. Yes? The majority of us here have experienced that as we have let ourselves dive into these teachings and, other teachings, that it expands us and it evolves us. And that's where we want to be. We want to be expanding and evolving. What we know is we don't know. And I love that, because for me, I'm always in awe of something else that is revealed to me, or a way that it is revealed to me, and how I can practically apply that in my daily life. And that's one of the things I love about the teachings of Unity, is it really brings it to a place where we practice these things in our daily lives. And how many of us who have been here for any amount of time can say that our lives have changed significantly for the better because we are practicing these teachings? How many of us can say that? Yeah. Yes, and that's a good thing. Okay, so we also, in the story of Moses, after he brings the people out of bondage, he takes them to Sinai, and they camp at the foot of Mount Sinai. Now, metaphysically, Sinai represents solitude, Sinai does not represent that. Sinai represents a high or exalted state of consciousness. And he shares here that it's important to remember that previous to this, Moses, they were in the wilderness for 40 years in a place called Horeb, Horeb, and Horeb represents solitude. So this 40 years in the wilderness in solitude represents as long as it takes for us to tap into that higher exalted consciousness. And we're going to get there over and over and over again, right? There's not many people who live in that high exalted consciousness all the time, because we get in the our reality with a small r of our human life, right? Yeah, so, but it feels good when, and again, I think that's those times when we have those aha moments, or as Teresa said on the pre-video, when we're really in that place of that expanded love, that knowing that we're all one, and that everybody, even though it doesn't seem like it, they're doing the best that they can, and that we can love them from that. The Christ in me sees and loves the Christ in you. Now, Charles Fillmore spent at least 4 hours a day in the silence, at least 4 hours a day. And I'm not suggesting that that's what's going to be the right thing for us, because that was his life's work, was unity, was, revealing this. But I'm rather reminding us of the importance of communing with the God of your understanding in whatever way you commune with that. And what I mean by that is, for some people, it is going to be going into the silence meditation. But it may be that you go on a walk and that's how you commune, or your garden, or you sing, or you paint. I mean, there are many ways that we commune with God. The thing is, that's so important for us to make that a priority in our lives. Because as we commune with God, we too reach that higher state of exalted consciousness, just as Moses was guided, and just as Moses had that personal experience of God, we too will have that. Moses heard a voice, and I can tell you for myself that I can't ever say I've heard an audible voice. It's almost like this message was imprinted on my consciousness, and it felt like a voice. But some people actually do hear an audible voice guiding them. The thing I'm saying is that as we open ourselves up to that, as we open out the way, that's going to happen more and more for us. And we've all experienced it in those intuitive guidance, that intuitive hits, that just knowing that I'm supposed to do this or I'm not supposed to do that. We've all had that experience. That's that voice of the God within us that is guiding us and leading us. So, what Eric Butterworth says about this book is that this book is not to herald the 10 Commandments as literal, but rather to break them down one by one to their underlying esoteric meaning, because it is from this meaning that we can be in relationship with them. How many of us, and this is a rhetoric question, could state all the 10 Commandments right now? Yeah. So the idea is, and for us, and that's why I love in Unity that we look at things metaphysically beyond the literal, is because it brings it to a living thing inside of us. That, we make friends with the Bible, instead of seeing it as something that's like, what does this thing even mean? That we bring it into a practical living thing with us. So the first commandment says to have no other gods before the one. And he says, and to have that is that we are in the awareness of the allness of God. Scripture tells us God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. That immediately takes away that idea of God as a being, like a human being. God is spirit, and God as spirit is everywhere present. We say every week there's only one presence and one power. And oftentimes we use the words like omniscient, all-knowing, all-knowledge, omnipotent, all-powerful, and then omnipresent, again, which is everywhere present. And Eric, and I love this, he says that we are each and eachness in the allness of God. We are an eachness in the allness of God, trying to bring us to that place where we recognize we are one with God. And so I'm going to invite us to say together these two things. I am an eachness in the allness of God. And I love this one, and I've used it many times, but this clarifies it for me. I am not all that God is, but all that I am is God. I'm not claiming here to be God, the Almighty God. I'm claiming that all that I am, though, is God. And all that God is within me. And I have access to that. And we're going to talk about how to bring that forth. So Eric says that instead of believing in God, it is important for us to begin believing from the consciousness of God. Here's the difference. When faith is limited to the cliche of faith in God, there is a tendency to accommodate the second that leads one astray, or the other that leads one astray. In other words, we have many gods within the framework of our belief system. We may believe in God and the devil. We may believe in life and sickness. We may believe in substance and in lack. And how we worship at the altars of the medicine cabinet, the great good luck charms, and the unemployment compensation. And I'm sure we can all relate to all of this, right? and it's okay. But what we really want to get to, again, is he's saying, you may think you believe in God, but do you believe from the allness of God? The Lord our God is one God, meaning that there's nothing outside of us that is against us. We may feel like our body is against us. We may feel like our finances are against us. We may feel that we're never going to have a great relationship. But we move then to the allness of God, in which none of that is a reality. And that's how we begin to change that. He said, human problems are not in God, but in our limited awareness of God and our relationship with God. In other words, the human experiences that we have here in this earthly realm of lack, of sickness, war, separation, greed, etc., 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 these things are of the human ego. They're man-made. And we talked about the human ego being edging God out. And I think of the ego in a couple of different ways. I'm not saying the ego is bad. We need the ego for many things. And one of those is that we come into the world with this ego because we have an amygdala that is the fight or flight. It helps to keep us safe. But there's another aspect of the ego, and that aspect of the ego is what we are trained to believe. And I call that our conditioned mind pattern. Now, we have many conditioned mind patterns that are good. You know, we've been brought into the world to believe maybe that we're worthy, that we're enough, that life is for us. But there are many conditioned mind patterns that take us down the other path. So things like we've been conditioned to believe in lack, to believe in generational illness. And Myrtle Fillmore, our co-founder, clearly told us, I am a child of God, therefore I do not inherit sickness. To believe that others are less than us, which leads to inequity and inequality. Or to believe that others are better than us because, they have money in our culture. It's almost like we praise people who have a lot of money and because they have power. And to believe that money is what is going to make our life. That's all we need is more money and I'm going to be okay. To believe that things maybe will never work out for us, or that our bodies are out of our control, or to believe that life is hard, or that life is against us, or to believe that all men or women are bad, or that there's no good ones left out there. I've heard people say it. Or to believe that if something's bad is going to happen, it's going to happen to me. Yeah. These are conditioned mind patterns. That's all they are, my friends. They're conditioned mind patterns. And we can recondition our mind through what I'm going to talk about in just a second. But we have to recognize these are not coming from the awareness of the allness of God, are they? They're not. These are not. Would you ever say, God is sick? God is broke? God is, whatever. We would never say that. But when we're saying these things, in essence, we kind of are saying that because we are godness expressing. So, here's what Eric says. I am the Lord your God simply means I am, the I am is the Lord of your being. And guess what? Only you can say I am. It is your true identity. It is the presence of God in you, being you. And he goes on to say that Jesus did not come to tell of his divinity, making him the great exception. His whole mission was to help us to know of our own divinity and to make of himself an example of the I am, coming to full expression in us. The tragedy is that tradition has made Jesus a God and worshiped him, made him the exception, made him the intermediary between us and God. And Eric goes on to say, Jesus is pointing his finger through the window, not at himself. Don't look at me, he's saying, but look to the Spirit as I am looking to the Spirit. See yourself in the light of the Christ as I have seen myself in this light. Believe on me and the actual demonstrations of the divinity of man that I have made, and realize what this really means, that you have this same potential within you. What I have done, you can do as well. Amen is right. You know, we need to really get that in the core of us. We need to take that in and make it real inside of us, because we tend to go through life kind of thinking we're victims to life, kind of thinking like, well, this is just the way that it is. And as long as we believe this is just the way that it is, guess what? It will continue to be the way that it is. And who's the person that can start to help creating change in that? Go ahead, say the words. I am. I am. So the first commandment is about our own I amness, the power of our I amness. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to me except through no one comes to the Father except through me. Through that Christ consciousness is what he was talking about. So our I am, capital I, capital A-M, is the way to truth and life. And we talk about the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God. We seek that, but we tend to seek it in the circumference of life. We seek love in other people, or we seek security and abundance in our jobs and in our investments, or we seek joy in houses and boats and cars. And this is not bad. I'm not saying any of this is bad. That all really adds to our joy. But what we really have the opportunity to is to become the qualities that we are seeking. And they are the very qualities that we attribute to this that we call God. They are the very qualities. We are seeking to be the expression of abundance. We are seeking to be the essence of joy. We are seeking to be the presence of peace. And the cool thing about this, you guys, is that our I amness is what brings these qualities alive in us. And we have to start looking at, what am I attaching to my I am? Am I saying, I am sick, I am not worthy, I'm not enough, I don't have enough, I can't, are we saying these things? And here's the thing about it, and he makes this very clear. It's not that we bury our head in the sand about these things. Things are going on in our lives, and we have moments, we have times when things are very real in our bodies and in our experience. And as I always say, it's okay. But that's a normal part of our human process. We're going to feel the feelings, but we just don't want to live there. So if I'm experiencing a day when I'm really not feeling good, and it's obvious, and you come up to me and ask me, hey, how are you today, Sue? And I go, I am great. My consciousness isn't believing that. But what I can say is, today I'm having a tough day. But what I do know is that I am the life of God, and that life of God is doing a mighty healing in me right now. I'm struggling because I don't have enough money to pay next month's bills, and I stay in that, but I shift it to, but I know that I am the abundance of God, and I can look around and see this abundance everywhere, and I know that abundance is coming to me right now in expected and unexpected ways. So we don't stay in that place of attaching our I am to what we don't want. And please, don't worry if you stay there for a little while. I'll have people come to me and be like, oh, I feel so bad because I've been in this negative state for a couple weeks. I'm like, it's okay. You're not being spiritual enough. You're okay. You're doing great, because the main thing is that we, go through the valley of the mountain, the valley of the shadow, but we come back up and out. As my friend Mary Lou would always say, we don't buy real estate there. We come back up and out of us. So let's see, where am I on this? Okay, so I'm going to share, and I'm going to invite you to join with me in some of the I am things that we could be saying. And we're going to start by, claiming I am something, and then I am that of God. So I am joy, but I am the joy of God, really taking it to that, because you are that. You are that. So we want to activate that in us. So I'm going to invite us to share in these together, if you would like. I am joy. I am the joy of God. I am creative. I am the creativity of God. And let yourself feel that. I am peace. I am the peace of God. I am abundance. I am the abundance of God. I am life. I am the life of God. I am love. I am the love of God. Using it in this way, where we are thinking of the I am and capital I, capital A-M, we are calling it forth from our greater reality. We are claiming it. And here's the thing I can absolutely tell you. The more that I claim that, the more chance I have of it manifesting in my life, period. Period. And the more that I claim the other, the more chance I have of perpetuating that in my life. So if you want to shift the direction of your life, you want to shift some things in your life, it's up to you. And it's up to you to start shifting where you're going to focus your I amness. And know that this includes I can, I will, I have, I have enough, I am enough, I can do this hard thing, I will get healthier. So here at Unity of Springfield, we have these really cool things that we actually created, and they are called life cards. And these we keep on sale all the time. I think they're $15. For a packet of them, and James Masters was the brain behind this and the legwork, as well as Jessica Quinn got everything together for us to get the artwork, and a bunch of us came together and did art and did affirmations. So we're going to do some of these so you can feel what these are for you, and I encourage you to buy a pack of these life cards and use them every day. So the first, we start with a statement. All say the statement, and then let's all together say the affirmation. First one. Life flows through you in creative ways. Together. I am a creative person, and I express my creative self in exciting and fun ways. Life supports me. I am open and receptive to all the good that life has to offer. I am grateful for the good that comes my way. And let yourself feel it. You dwell in the abundance of life. Life supplies me with everything I need. I am blessed. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. You do know what to do. You are loved, guided, and supported by life. My intuition is always on my side. I am synchronized with life itself and flow naturally toward my highest good. Your body is meant to thrive. My body and mind are in perfect harmony. I flow with life, and I am filled with energy and vitality. And the last one is coming up in a second. You are connected to the peace of life. I connect to the center of my being, which is always filled with peace. I am relaxed and at ease. My friends, within you lies potential and possibilities that are unlimited. And what they come from is just the very substance, the essence of God that you are one with. So I encourage you today and the rest of this week to really wake up and become conscious of what am I attaching to my I am, and start bringing the power of your I amness into a place of focusing on the life that you desire. Because you know what? You deserve it. You are worthy of it. And I say to you, the light in me, the divinity in me, blesses and sees and honors the divinity, the light, the potential and possibilities with each and every one of you. And I say namaste, namaste.